Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Happy Metal Tales. I'm your host, Steve Kitts. The Best Friends Day Surprise. The morning sun peeked over the rolling hills of Happy Meadow, turning the dew of the grass into 1,000 tiny diamonds. Birds chirped in the apple trees. Buzz the bee buzzed lazily around wildflowers. And somewhere near the old wooden bridge, a very excited rabbit tried to hide a package behind his back. That was Robbie the rabbit. He was doing a terrible job at it. The package was wrapped in a bright paper, tied with a crooked bow, and is nearly as wide as Robbie's body. Every few steps, it slipped out from behind him. Robbie would grab it, stuff it back behind his back again, then kept walking as though nothing was happening. "Nobody saw that," Robbie whispered. Betty the bluebird was sitting on a fence post. She tilted her head. "Especially you!" She gave him the sweetest smile. "Please keep it to yourself." Today was a very important day in Happy Meadow. It was Best Friends Day. Every year the animals celebrated with friends who had made ordinary days better. There would be games in the meadow, carrot cake near the big oak tree, music by the pond, and if Benny had anything to do with it, probably some kind of eating contest. But Robbie had planned something very special. He had bought Benny a present. Not just any present, but a friendship present. Robbie had spent nearly 20 minutes choosing it, which according to Robbie was practically an entire afternoon. He had found it at Bridget the Cricket's little shop near the edge of Happy Meadow. The moment he saw it, he knew. Benny is going to love this. Robbie hurried towards Benny's house. What Robbie didn't know, at that very moment, Benny was coming down the opposite trail. And Benny was carrying a package too. Benny spotted Robbie first, and he quickly shoved his package behind his back. "Morning!" Robbie jumped. "Benny!" They started towards each other. Robbie leaned slightly to the left, and Benny leaned slightly to the right. Robbie moved right, Benny moved left. "What are you hiding?" Robbie asked. "Nothing." "Well, it doesn't look like nothing." Benny narrowed his eyes. "What are you hiding?" "Nothing." "Well, your nothing has a bow on it." Robbie looked behind himself. "Oh." Benny grinned. "Busted." Robbie pulled the package around. "Fine. It's your best friend's day present." Benny's eyes widened. "No way!" "What?" Benny thought of his own package. Then Benny brought his own package around. "I got you one too!" Benny's ears shot straight up. "You did?" "Of course I did! We're best friends!" Robbie smiled. "Well, you're my best friend." "I know." "How'd you know?" "Because I'm very lovable." Benny stared at him. Benny nodded seriously. "It's a burden." Robbie burst out laughing. "Come on," Benny said. "Let's go open these." They hurried towards their favorite spot near the giant oak tree. The Best Day Friends celebration wouldn't begin for another hour, so they had the whole meadow practically to themselves. Robbie placed Benny's present right in front of him, and Benny placed Robbie's present in front of Robbie. "On three," Benny said. 1, 2, 3. And paper flew everywhere. Robbie ripped through his package, and Benny tore the bow off, and then they both stopped. Robbie stared into his box. Benny stared into his. Neither one spoke. Slowly, Robbie lifted his present. At the exact same time, Benny lifted his. Two brand new hoodies unfolded into the morning breeze. They were exactly the same color, exactly the same style, and exactly the same size. For several seconds, the two best friends simply stared at each other. Then Benny's mouth twitched, and Robbie snorted. Benny tried to hold it in. So did Robbie, but it didn't work. They both fell backwards into the grass. Benny kicked his feet, and Robbie held his belly. You bought me the same hoodie! You bought me the same hoodie! I thought you'd like this color. I thought you'd like this color. And they laughed even harder. Robbie rolled onto his side. I spent forever picking out yours. So did I. How long? Benny thought about it. Maybe 15 minutes. Robbie stopped laughing and said, 15 minutes? Yeah? It took me 20. Benny shrugged. Well, you're slower than I am. Robbie grabbed a handful of grass and tossed it at him. Then they both started laughing again. A few minutes later, they both pulled on their new hoodies. Benny looked at Robbie, and Robbie looked at Benny. They looked exactly alike. Well, Robbie said, this could be a problem. Why? People might get us confused. Benny stared at Robbie's long rabbit ears. Then he reached up and touched his own tiny ears. Nope. Robbie laughed. And they headed towards the center of Happy Meadow. By then, everyone else was arriving for Best Friends Day. Bee, the queen bee, had her worker bees hanging banners between the trees. Gus and Gabby, the grasshopper twins, had set up games. Someone rolled 3 barrels of carrot juice beside the picnic tables. And the smell of fresh baked pies from Farmer Brown was flowing across the meadow. The moment Robbie and Benny walked in together, wearing matching hoodies, everyone noticed. Look at those two, Brom the bear said. Matching outfits. Benny pointed at Robbie. It was his idea. And Robbie pointed at Benny. Nope, it was his. Then they looked at each other. Actually, they started laughing. Soon, everyone wanted to hear the story. And Robbie told carefully how he had chosen out Benny's present. And Benny told how he had done exactly the same thing. And when they reached the part where they opened the box together, half the Happy Meadow was laughing with them. Later that afternoon, Robbie and Benny sat beneath the oak tree eating an enormous slice of carrot cake. Benny looked at his own hoodie. You know what? What? This might have been the best present anyone ever gave me. Robbie smiled. Because you like the hoodie? Nope. Because it's comfortable? Nope. Because you look incredibly handsome in it. Benny considered that. Well, obviously. Robbie rolled his eyes, and Benny smiled. It's because we both picked the same thing. Robbie looked at him. Benny continued. You saw it, and you thought of me. I saw it and thought of you. Robbie smiled. Guess best friends think alike. Yeah, sometimes. Benny took another bite of carrot cake. Robbie looked at his best friend's plate. Is that your third piece? Oh, best friends day calories don't count. Who told you that? I just decided it. Well, that's not how it works. Oh, today it does. Robbie laughed. As the afternoon sun warmed Happy Meadow, the two best friends sat beneath their favorite tree wearing their matching hoodies. They tried to surprise each other. Instead, they surprised themselves. And somehow, that made the presents even better. Because the best part of Best Friends Day wasn't the games. It wasn't even the cake. And it wasn't the presents. It was having someone beside you that knew you so well that sometimes, without even trying, you both chose exactly the same thing. Be blessed, my friends. The end.